Welcome back to the Empower Students Now podcast. I'm Amanda Warner, your host. And last episode, I revealed some big news that was really hard to come out and say. I've been wanting to say it for years and years now, and I finally did it, and I'm really relieved. And I do think that just it being a new year helped, I guess. But also my friend Jessica Martin, the whimsical teacher, over on Instagram. You should definitely give her a follow if you want to just follow someone who brings humor and lightheartedness and wisdom to the profession of teaching. I just love seeing what she comes up with, the creative things that she posts on her Instagram. But she's also the co-host with me of my other podcast called Two Wacky Teacherpreneurs Tell All. So if you're ever interested in sort of like how to start a teacher business, we have so many really fun, informative episodes on our podcast. But she's also been really supportive of me coming out and telling people about my autism and ADHD. So in combination, it's called ADHD. And so this episode you're going to hear is part 2 of our conversation. And we talk more about receiving an autism diagnosis later in life. And Jess shares a lot of personal things too about sensory sensitivities and different diagnoses that she's received throughout her years. And I also really try to emphasize that self-diagnosis is valid and is possible, especially because of the resources that are available online now. Like actual, assessments that diagnosticians use. They're available for free on a website called Embrace Autism. So I recommend that you go and check that out if you're curious about your own neurodivergent brain. There's so many assessments there for free that you can take. So I hope that this episode is helpful to you. And if you do feel that it's helpful and you think someone else might benefit, I really do appreciate you sharing links to the Empower Students Now podcast or links to specific episodes with the people that you know that you think might benefit from this information. So as always, thank you so much for listening and just taking time out of your really busy, stressful, chaotic day. Things are so stressful right now. Like, I just want to say that, like, just in our country, the United States, I don't talk about politics a lot and I don't want to say anything really because it's so triggering, but I just want to name just how hard it is being a citizen in this country right now. And especially, I'm sure, teachers just having to hold it all together in their classrooms. I really, really do think about you every day. And I just hope you're taking care of yourself and your family above all else. Okay. And then, of course, your students. But just always keeping in mind that, you can always pull back on like the expectations that others have of you. You don't always have to live up to them. And I just want to say that because that mindset has helped me a lot in my life. Oh, and one more thing I wanted to tell you all about. My friend, Jessica Martin, the whimsical teacher, works for a company called Book Bag Tours. And this is a company that facilitates and hosts stress-free travel internationally, and they are going to Germany this summer. They are a group of educators who, during this summer, explore a new culture. They're going to Munich, and they have the option to explore I don't know how to pronounce this, but it's a city in Germany, I think, Leipzig and Dresden. They're going to go to the Berlin Wall, and just, I'm reading a little bit off of their website. It says, absorb Germany's remarkable contributions to music and arts while gathering stories to inspire your classrooms, because they also visit schools within the countries that they visit. So there are other teachers on the trip, and there's professional development, there's graduate credit you can get. It's really, really amazing. What an amazing opportunity. So if you're interested in this, well, I'll link the trip in the show notes, but I'm also going to link my friend Jess's whimsical teacher Instagram, because you can message Jess directly if you want to know more about joining this group of teachers this summer in Germany. So the trip is June 16th through June 25th, 2026. Okay, let's get to the conversation between Jessica Martin and myself about navigating adult autism, like being diagnosed later in life. Let's go. Welcome to the Empower Students Now podcast, a podcast about equity, neurodiversity, mindfulness, and student engagement. There's a lot that needs to change in our education system. The good news is teachers have the power to make these changes now.
Welcome back to Two Wacky Teacherpreneurs. That was so horrible. I'm sorry. I have a toy accordion. I just realized that you probably can't see it at home, but anyway, it's something that my husband, one year for Christmas, he said he wanted one thing. He wanted a toy accordion. And he even made me take a picture of it. We were shopping one day. He's like, this is what I want for Christmas. Take a picture of it now. And he's actually really good on this. He's pretty good on the accordion. Anyway, we decided to come back and do a little part 2. Our part 1 episode was all about Amanda receiving an official diagnosis that she is autistic. And then at the end of the episode, we said we were going to come back and talk about what does getting an autistic diagnosis later in life or middle age, right? Like in your 40s or your 30s or your 50s, what does that mean for you when you already are in a career, you have your life kind of set up? Like what would be the purpose of doing that? Because I'm sure Amanda thinks that I'm autistic. Probably most people that meet me think I'm autistic.
I'm so glad you said that.
Amanda is not the first person to say I'm autistic, right? I do have social anxiety disorder and an avoidance disorder. And probably I have a sensory problem where I'm really sensitive to feelings. Like I can't wear a scarf, necklace, jewelry. I can't wear socks with seams in a certain way. I have to go to bed at night in certain color clothes or I feel tormented by the universe. There's some things I'm telling Amanda that she's probably never heard before.
Certain colors? I didn't know that.
If I don't wear a black t-shirt when I go to bed, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and rip it off because I'm so upset, and I'll sit and think about how it's not black. And there were years before, probably in my 20s, where I had to wear a white t-shirt when I went to bed. And then suddenly in my 30s, I had to wear a certain kind of black t-shirt, and it has to be a certain weight of the shirt matters. Man, it's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And the most annoying parts are really when my sunglasses or glasses are too tight on my head. I start throwing up. Like it sparks something inside of me. Like if anything touches my temples in a weird way, like a hat, a brim of a hat, or sunglasses, I start gagging like uncontrollably. And that's why I used to wear a necklace all the time in my 20s. And by the time I got to my 30s, I couldn't stand a necklace on my neck anymore. And then I used to wear bracelets, and I can't stand bracelets. The only thing I can tolerate is an Apple Watch. And sometimes it makes me sick and I have to take it off. Like I'll just feel the pressure of the watch on my wrist, and I'll just feel like I'm gonna basically crumble into a ball and die. And so I have to take my watch off, and also my wedding ring. is the thinnest band I could find because having a chunky rings, and even when I see people wearing chunky rings, I start to get nauseous. So, I mean, a lot of people have come up to me, but at this point, I'm like, well, what's the point? I mean, I'm like 44 years old. I've learned to deal with myself. I have a happy marriage and a house, and I'm mid-career. So, what would be the point of me finding out that I was like officially autistic when I've just learned to deal with myself and my weirdness all these years? What do you think, Amanda? What are your thoughts on that? Should I
Well,
put my hand down?
your accordion, you're making me want to go get my an instrument. I have some instruments, but I'm gonna try not to get off topic too bad here. So because I do have one like a ukulele.
Ooh, maybe you can bring it out for next episode.
Okay, so getting a diagnosis as an adult, especially of autism, is very costly and it takes a long time. It took 6 months. It was a 6 month long drawn out process and it cost a lot of money, like over $1,000 I spent to have a doctor that is very knowledgeable about autism, specifically autism in women and girls, because a lot of doctors are not knowledgeable about that research. Um, and so I don't, I don't, not everyone has those resources, not everyone has the time or the money to spend on getting a formal diagnosis. And so that's why I do think self-diagnosis is relevant here. Like I feel like it should be more accepted. Um, and but not, I think that like autistic people, they deep dive into research. I mean, a lot of them. I'm not saying all of them. I can't ever say all of them, but me specifically, I am very driven to learn. I mean, you know that about me. I'm voracious. I probably read a book a week. And when I say read, some people disagree that listening to books is not reading, but I fight with them all the time about that. I'm like, what? How is that not reading? Like I have all the knowledge in my head that I heard from these books. So a lot of the reading I do is listening to audiobooks, but I also read actual books. I try to, but that's hard sometimes with ADHD too. But you asked like how why would I do this? Like I'm a successful adult, well adjusted, I guess. I don't, maybe I'm not. To me, well, one of the main reasons that I did this is because I wanted to understand myself better and the health issues that I have. Um, I've always struggled with eating. I've always struggled with overworking, with this voracious need to learn, being over passionate, over driven, and yeah, and with people, with relationships, with friendships, with and even being a mom, of course. And I do think that a lot of people, they don't realize how neurodivergent they are until they become parents and until the pressures of life have gotten so extreme, that and during the pandemic, things were just chaotic and unpredictable. And I think there's a lot of people who realized that they were different during the pandemic. I think that that caused a lot of people to start understanding themselves more. And also, and there is this whole phenomenon of middle-aged women getting diagnosed with ADHD. But whenever I hear about someone, especially a woman, being diagnosed with ADHD, and they start talking about, emotional regulation issues and RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria, and I just always, I'm like, are they aware that that 40% of people with ADHD also have autism? Like, have they considered, like this at all? So I'm always questioning like women with ADHD, like, have they thought about autism as well? There's also OCD. I have that too. I was diagnosed with OCD by the same doctor, mild to moderate OCD, and then also alexithymia, which is like this. There's a spectrum with all of this, but like mild, moderate, severe, and alexithymia is just this inability to identify how you're feeling. And yeah, I don't know. Like to me, it helps me understand all the problems I've had in the past. And it helps me feel like, okay, you have issues with rigid thinking. Like you have issues with black and white thinking. And that has been my issue with food a lot, is feeling like I have to be perfect, like I have to eat perfectly. And that has caused me a lot of problems in my life. A lot of like swinging back and forth on extremes, like extremely healthy eating, and then swinging all the way back to extremely unhealthy eating. And so now that I know why have I struggled so hard with that? It's because of ADHD and autism. It's emotional regulation issues. It's like being extremely sensitive to food and it giving me a lot of pleasure, maybe too much pleasure. And so like I feel like it's helping me understand why. Like it's not my fault, it's my brain and how it works. And so it's helping me like on it, like Jess, I just downloaded this app called My Fitness Pal. And in the past, I would have used this app to be perfect, right? To like track all my food and nutrition. But now I'm using it and I'm even putting, all the junk I'm eating and I'm using it to identify where are the nutrients that I'm going too far above and where am I not getting enough of these nutrients? And I've learned, like I always thought I ate too much sugar. And this app is helping me limit like a little more. Like I used to just eat like a giant bag of chips. I'm sure a lot of people can identify with this. Like even neurotypical people, I would just eat out of the big chip bag and I didn't know how much I was eating, like how much salt or any of that. And now with this app, I've started to, and maybe this is sort of perfectionistic, but like I've been counting my chips and then I put them in a bowl, but I give myself a lot of chips. Like I give myself like 25 chips. What? Okay, you got to tell me what you're thinking right now. And then
Well,
I don't put it.
I was
Yeah.
just thinking that you got this diagnosis of being OCD, and that's like the definition of being OCD is like counting things that you do,
Yeah.
right?
Well, and I know I was diagnosed with ADHD and like I always rejected that because I'm like, I'm so organized. Like it's always what I'm doing, like organizing things. And I still think I have AD. I know I have ADHD. The doctor also tested me for all of that and gave me all those assessments for that too. And I definitely have combination type ADHD, but I don't know. I'm just much more self-aware, I guess. And like and there's part of me that's like, you know, really like, okay, you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to eat perfect. You just need to know what you're putting in your body. And the reason I'm doing this is because I struggle so much with health, like chronic pain. And that's another thing that's associated with being autistic and ADHD is chronic pain. And it can manifest in a lot of different ways. Like you get migraines all the time. And I know you have chronic health issues as well. And so it also helps me understand why. Like, why have I had these my whole life? Like my whole life, I've had these head to toe rashes and I've seen a lot of doctors about it. And it just happens like suddenly I have hives. And it's happened since I was like 6. I have pictures of myself with head to toe hives, and they didn't know back then why. And there's a lot of research that's come out recently that it is related with neurodivergence and being like just hypersensitive to your environment and to stress. And so it just explains a lot of things to me. And but if you don't have the money to get a diagnosis and you want to really deep dive into this, there are people out there like the doctor that diagnosed me is from Embrace Autism. So I highly recommend that website because this doctor has all of the assessments for free. So like you could go and take all of these assessments, and she even puts her own scores into like the doctor is ADHD as well and OCD. And so this doctor like has a lived experience of all of this. And so like if you're not someone who can spend money on a diagnosis, you could go to embraceautism.com and take all these assessments and just, just to self-identify and understand yourself better.
But could you tell people a little bit about what the assessments were like? Because I just remember you telling me that there were a lot of essay questions, sort of. Like, and I'm thinking about people at home that are teacher entrepreneurs and they already feel like they don't have enough time for anything. So, like, how long did all of the questionnaires take you? Do you remember?
Well, okay, so there's the first part is you go through a screening. So you do a screening process, and that actually is not that expensive. I forget how much I paid for that. But the screening process, I think there were like 5 tests, and then just a few short answer questions. Um, and she doesn't have the short answer questions available on her website, I don't think, but she has the tests available. And one of them is called the RADS R, RAADS. And I'll put a link to it in the show notes. Um, that one you could take for free. And I think it takes like 10-15 minutes. Um, the AQ is another one, autism quotient. And I'm not quite sure what the RAD stands for. I could look it up. RADS R test. Yeah, actually, when I search RADS R test, the first link that comes up is from Embrace Autism. And you could read this. It takes 15 minutes to read it. To take the test, it's 10 to 30 minutes.
Okay,
Um,
that's not that long then.
yeah. And then you can take the test right on our website. But the doctor also gives you a rating or gives each test a rating. So she rates it on appropriate and respectful wording, clarity and lack of ambiguity, because autistic people, they struggle with ambiguity, right? Like they struggle with like kind of abstract um, thinking. I'm very literal. I'm the last person to get a joke. Uh, and so she rates it on that because sometimes test questions are very hard to answer for autistic people because they're like very contextual. Like, would you rather watch a movie at home or go to a friend's house to have dinner? And it's like, well, it depends on what friend, you know what I mean? Like, how do I answer this question? And then she also rates it on the accuracy of the test. And the RADs is very accurate, apparently. 4 out of 5 stars she gave it. So anyways, you could go search these sort of tests. And most of them are about 10, 15, 30-minute tests you can take.
So what I'm hearing from you is one thing that people could do if they were interested in finding out more about this, they could go to Embrace Autism and they could take these tests. And also, like, why would they want to find out? It would just be more on their journey to self-actualization, right? Like just self-awareness, understanding what makes you you, and then, having a greater self-awareness might help your business, right? Because like the more you know about you and how you work and how you're productive and what works for you and really discovering what works for you and why, that will help you in your journey on being an entrepreneur because like the more you understand about yourself, the more you can probably help other people.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I wanted to get this diagnosis to go public about it. Like, I wanted to have more authority in saying, yes, I am autistic. And I wanted to be able to tell my kid that too. Like, I wanted to be able to say, this is not caused by Tylenol. This is not caused by vaccinations. This is caused by genetics,
But
my child.
Amanda, did you ask your mom if she took Tylenol while she was pregnant with you?
I did not. And oh my God, I have so much to say about that. But my mom and my dad are just as weird as I am. I get a lot of these traits from them. Um, and I have a secret to tell you. I actually haven't told my parents yet. They don't listen to this. They don't listen to this podcast. That's like, I mean, I just got this diagnosis like 2 weeks ago. There's people I have not told yet. So you wacky teacherpreneurs, you must be a special group because you know before my parents.
When are you going to tell them? Do you have a timeline?
I don't know. It's so hard because I don't want to impact them negatively. Like, I don't want them to feel guilty. I don't want them to feel like, I don't want them to be dismissive, which they've been really great about everything with my kid. So I don't think they're going to be dismissive. Actually, it was my dad that was like, have you considered autism? When my kid was having all these struggles when they were, in preschool and kindergarten. And that at that point, I was like, what is autism? Like, I didn't even really know what it was. And so a lot has changed, in the last 5 years. It's pretty wild, and wacky.
Well, you'll have to keep us updated on how that journey goes for sure.
I will. Thank you for listening.
Namaste.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.